Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. In our first story, the OP savagely punished the thief. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Revenge is a dish best served spicy hot. I work in an office, as most people do, and of course, there's one of many break rooms, as found in most offices. For the past 2 weeks, my wonderful girlfriend would slow cook awesome meals to take to work with me. We have a giant twin-door refrigerator in the break room where everyone keeps their food. No surprise. Well, like a kid going to recess, I walk toward the break room and open the refrigerator. Food's missing. I scan around the break room and see my plastic food container on the counter next to the sink. My heart sank and I reluctantly drove into lunchtime rush hour to the quick taco restaurant. Next day, I bring my food to work. I keep checking the break room to see if my food's still in there. This time at lunch, my food was in the refrigerator. I felt sort of relieved and thought that was an isolated incident. Until the next day, when I brought in some chicken tenders from Publix, go to the refrigerator, and gone. Looked in the trash can, and there was my chicken tenders container. I was so mad that I talked with security to see if they could play back the footage. Since it was more of a nuisance than a crime, security just laughed and said, "Sucks to be you, man," all we can say. This occurs over the course of 2 work weeks. At least I accumulated enough stamps for a free taco at the quick taco restaurant. Over the weekend, while fishing on the beach, I couldn't help but think about the jerk stealing my food. Then it hits me. I want to play a game. On Sunday, I purchased a 6-inch chicken tender sandwich from Publix and took it home. For those of you who don't know, I'm a chili head. Basically, I love my food extra spicy. I've built up a tolerance to where Tabasco is like table salt for me now. I mainly enjoy Carolina Reaper and Boot Jolokia hot sauces. At home, I opened up my medicine cabinet. I carefully opened the sandwich and picked my blood. I needed something slow-acting since I didn't want just a one bite, "Hey, that's spicy." No. I wanted this to build and then knock him down. So I picked one sauce containing the Boot Jolokia and Moruga scorpion chili peppers. Both were at one time considered the hottest peppers in the world by the Guinness Book. The sauce is a great sauce. It slowly builds up with a nice peppery flavor, almost like a Chipotle Tabasco if you multiply it by like 1,000. I used a lot of it, but it was worth it. But I wasn't done. Haha, no. I took out some dried Reaper and ghost chilies from the refrigerator, which I use for chili and jarring pickles. I cut them up into fine pieces using latex gloves, eye goggles, and a mask. Then I sprinkle them onto the sandwich. I woke up the next morning and took the sandwich with me. The girlfriend got irritated because she made me lunch and saw me bringing a sub to work. Didn't matter because I was about to get revenge. I took extra care to place this sub right at the front of the refrigerator. I keep checking the break room every so often to see if it's gone or still there. Finally, at around 10:50, I head towards the break room and hear heavy breathing, like a dog panting loudly, and hear the sounds of shoes squeaking, almost like somebody was playing basketball. Then I go in and see Ruben, not his real name, but let's call him that, sweating heavily, stumbling down the counter and breathing up a hurricane. He resembled a fish out of water on a hot sidewalk. I pointed to him and said, You're the mother effer stealing my damn lunch." He looks towards me and says, Water. I was more than happy to bring him water because, as any chili head will tell you, water only intensifies the burn. He gulps all the water down, then hangs his head over the sink with a steam of drool leaving his mouth. He looked like Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction. Then the best thing happens. The chicken tender sandwich comes right up and lands on the break room floor. Someone comes into the break room and thinks he's choking. Then I say, no, he's not choking. He's drunk. At this point, he's literally at a loss for words. Then I go back to my desk and he comes up to me in a sweat-stained shirt and starts cussing me out. Only thing I said was, "Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have kept stealing my lunch, then this wouldn't have happened." Then he tries to get me in trouble with my supervisor. He tells my supervisor that I tried to poison him. I explained the situation to my supervisor, who didn't necessarily agree with my actions, but I could tell that a piece of him thought I was justified. I felt satisfied and relieved. I didn't even mind going to that quick taco restaurant to buy food. Later at home, I went to the beach, cracked open a cold one, and sipped to victory. And our next story. He shot himself in the foot. Background. Okay, this had been an issue that had been ongoing in the legal system for a couple of years, but only a couple months ago it was finally settled. Warning. I don't know exactly how it all worked out since my parents kept me out of the loop, so I'll tell this story as good as I can and from what I managed to gather. Cast: Fossil, old man and previous owner of the land. Peck, my dad, current co-owner of the land. Junior, dad's friend, neighbor, and co-owner of the land. Story. Before we go any further, I just want to explain what I meant about co-owning the land. Peck and Junior bought the land together. I don't remember how much it cost them, but they each paid half the money, so they both co-own the land. The land was quite spacious, so there was enough area to build 2 walls to divide the houses, and each side create their own house, garden, etc., etc. I hope I'm explaining this well. Forgot to mention the land was in the intentions to build a summer home in another city, so we could go there to spend holidays or the summer when we felt like it, and while the beach wasn't necessarily right next, it was a very short distance from the land. Anyway, everything was going nice before the purchase. Fossil was actually nice at first, and everything went well. Peck and Junior signed a contract, and the land was now ours. However, everything went downhill fast. Apparently, soon after the purchase, City Hall decided to asphalt the main road that connected the street that the land and other neighbor houses were located on, as it was previously a sand road. Because of this, the price of the houses and lands increased. Fossil realized this, and realizing that he lost the chance of selling it at a higher price, decided to go against the contract and tried to claim the land back. And that's when all hell broke loose. Following that, an all-out war started. Fossil versus Peck and Junior. Fossil began threatening them about taking them to court and how the land was still his and the contract was nullified and blah, blah, blah. Problem is, Peck and Junior were still paying. They didn't pay all the money immediately because neither my family nor Junior's had anywhere near enough cash to pay it out on the spot, so we paid in finances, like a specific amount per month or something. That part was actually blurry to me because my parents never specified how it worked, but it was something like that. Anyways, that meant Fossil was having our money hostage, and thus Peck and Junior refused to pay the remainder of the deal, deciding that since Fossil was trying to get the land back and holding their money hostage, they'd play the same game. According to my mother, who was aware of everything but decided to let those two settle it, Peck and Junior at some point went to Fossil's house to try and come up with an agreement, and Junior's family also accompanied them. Apparently, according to my mother, of course, Fossil was incredibly hostile and angry, and according to Junior, had a concealed weapon, like a knife or something, not a fire weapon. And once they realized they weren't going anywhere, they decided to leave, and once they turned around, Fossil apparently tried to chase them with the weapon, and Junior stopped him by grabbing a piece of wood and threatening to kill him if he took one more step towards him, his family, and Peck, and Fossil realized he was outmatched and backed off, but continued to spew threats. After that, they took him to court, but for some reason the entire thing took a couple of years to finally get settled. During that time skip, I have no idea what was going on. Peck and Junior went to a couple of hearings in the land city, but I never went because, honestly, I had no idea what the process was and didn't actually care as long as Fossil paid for trying to screw us over. During this time, my maternal uncle became a licensed lawyer, and my mother asked for his help and advice, and my uncle pretty much said that Fossil was digging his own hole. Anyway, on the day of the final conclusive hearing, it all ended. Fossil showed up to court, and once the judge asked for their sides of the story, Fossil pulled out a fake contract. Yes, dear reader, you read that right. He pulled out a fake freaking contract with his signature on it, but not Peck's and Junior's, and claimed that Peck and Junior never signed anything, therefore the land was officially his, and demanded that they return it to him. However, Peck and Junior pulled a Uno reverse card and revealed the actual contract with Peck, Junior, and Fossil's signature on it, and pretty much revealed that Fossil was trying to screw them all over. Also, during the 2 years that this had been going on, Fossil went to our land and built a small cabin for himself. Yup, he believed that he was surely going to win. He built a cabin the size of a small bathroom and claimed that the cabin had been built before he even sold the land. Stupid F. But cameras showed the construction taking place in between the 2 years that this whole thing was going on, so strike one. Then Peck and Junior showed off video footage of the incident I mentioned before. Fossil trying to attack them with a weapon as it was all caught by camera on one of the light posts on the street. Strike two. And finally, Fossil actually effed himself over by continuously claiming contradictory statements. I don't know exactly what he was talking, as once again I wasn't present, but according to my father, Fossil said one thing and later on retconned himself before starting the cycle again. Eventually, the judge had heard enough and dropped the hammer. Fossil had lost the case completely, while also stating while Fossil wouldn't have to return the money Pekin Jr. already paid, Pekin Jr. wouldn't need to pay the remaining money they were required to because of the whole crap storm. Also, Fossil had 30 days to collect whatever items and tools he left behind at the cabin he built, otherwise Pekin Jr. could claim it as their own. And aside from that, Fossil had to pay both parties lawyer fees, and should he ever attempt anything or even try to talk to Pekin Jr. about anything regarding the land, he would immediately be sent to jail. And also, Fossil had to pay a large fine for the evidence of him trying to attack Pekin Jr. with a weapon or go to jail, and Fossil obviously chose the former. I don't know how much he paid, but I do know it was a lot of money, so Fossil lost the case, made a fool out of himself, had to pay both lawyers for the trouble, and had to pay an additional amount of money for the fine, and we kept land for cheaper than we were supposed to. Ain't karma a bee? Huh, Fossil? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.